I said I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but here we go. Hi everyone, my name is Alex. Today I'm going to be trying the American formulation of one of my favorite Korean sunscreens. And I'm doing this for both my testing because there's kind of been a gray area on how they get imported into the United States. They're not technically allowed to be sold in the United States, but there are certain Korean skincare retailers, Style comes to mind, and also Stylevana, that import them into the United States and they're only able to be ordered. You can't physically sell them in the United States. There's been a lot of fear mongering going on what's going to happen with Korean sunscreens. There's people saying you need to stock up and then you'll see and they'll earn like so much commission from it. And truthfully, there's a lot of people in the know of skincare that does not know what's going on with Korean sunscreens. There have been different statements released from brands like Skin 1004, Beauty of Joseon, pretty much detailing that they are worried of the risk of being fined of selling certain Korean skincare products to the United States. So a lot of brands have halted that completely. I'm just relaying everything I've been seeing recently about them. It is a daily changing matter. It could be changed by the time it's posted. I wanted to try out this American formulation because I wanted to see if I had an American FDA approved option that would work for my skin. And I also wanted to give you all, as the viewers, a picture of what the American versus the Korean sunscreen looks like, how it feels, compare the two. I do want to first say a big issue with American-based sunscreens is a white cast. I'm able to get away with white cast. I'm able to use a lot of mineral formulations, a lot of chemical formulations. Even the Round Lab Korean formulation was more white cast heavy than a lot of the others like Beauty of Joseon. So I'd still recommend following creators that look like you to get an accurate picture of the product on your skin. I am gonna be testing out a lot with this. Sunscreen is a very personalized experience, and I think it's just to the fact where I got comfortable with a Korean sunscreen, as many have. And when you see that there may be a day where you're not able to get or not able to access that unless you are actually in Korea, it is just like change. And so I want to be preventative with that and try this formula out while I can still access the Korean formula as well. Anyway, sunscreen is the most important step, and I think that's why it has affected so many people so much, because people who study skincare, people who know skincare, know the importance of sunscreen and why people wear it every day, why people are thorough with reapplication. It's what's really helped my skin as well, being consistent with it. That is why I want to dive into this, try out the American formulation. I do have a lot of the Korean formulation on hand as well. We're gonna get side-by-side comparison. We're gonna see if I experience any breakouts, anything abnormal with my face when using it. Is this something that I would see myself using if the Korean formulation ever goes off the market? Because there are some American formulations that I enjoy, but the Round Lab Birch Juice collection has done wonders for my acne. If I'm being honest, it's what I have used consistently when I'm not trying out a new sunscreen. And so I obviously still want to be able to use it. I want to see if those benefits transfer over with the American formulation. As for anything else, I'll be continuing to do check-ins, so I will see you all in the next check-in. I'm here in natural lighting to give you my first impression with the American formulation of my favorite sunscreen. I've been excited to try it. I've been hesitant to try it. I still have access to the Korean formulation, but if you don't, or if that somehow leaves, I do want to have this video out there as a potential option. I've started to see more creators talking about the American formulation. One way that you can tell a difference between the two, which I will be doing a check-in with half American, half Korean, because I still have a lot of that on hand. How you can tell the difference between the two is right here. This is going to be blue. That is the biggest way to indicate that. This is going to be blue, and in English says sunscreen. Also, the American formulation is an SPF 45, So just take that into consideration. Round Lab did send me this. I was able to request a sample of this product. So they just asked me to do one short form video. I'm wanting to do this because I wanted to try this out for myself. I applied the Korean formulation yesterday, so it's very fresh in my mind what it reminds me of. I do a 1/4 teaspoon. I mean, even coming out, it's thicker. And this review is also coming from the perspective of someone who rarely, oh, this is so thick. Ooh, I am so programmed for Korean sunscreens. Anyway, back to what I was saying. This review is coming from someone who rarely experiences stinging around my eyes with American formulations. I know it's been a big talk of a lot of people struggling with that, so no, I am not the best to testify for that. Okay, actually, applying it on the face, it does have a thicker consistency. Smells completely different. Like, this is definitely an American formulation. Like, it smells like a typical American sunscreen. You know what? I've tried to be anti this formulation for so long, and you can see that it still does, like, there's some more collecting in facial hair than I would experience with the Korean formulation. Where I will really be interested in this product is when I compare the two. Because right now, I'm not mad at that. It's definitely more moisturizing. It's definitely thicker, which is saying a lot because the Round Lab sunscreen was one of the more moisturizing Korean formulations when you like put them side by side. And I loved it because the ingredients just worked well for me. Definitely feels heavier. Feel is gonna be where you lose the love for the Korean formulations because it's just, ooh, it feels more greasy, feels heavier on the skin. I liked the Round Lab because it was a more moisturizing sunscreen, but it didn't feel like a sunscreen. This more feels like a sunscreen. And doing this video to compare, I'm trying to also, I'm doing this for me too, to try to see that I will be okay if something happens to the Round Lab sunscreen if I'm not able to access it. Finish wise, pretty seamless. I still feel like since it is a chemical formulation, I would want to see this on deeper skin tones, but I still feel like it is workable. I'm not for sure on that, but just like to the touch, feels like I have a layer of sunscreen on my face, which that's just what you get with American formulations. It's hard to work around that. If you only have access to this, then it's not gonna be a huge deal. I would recommend starting out with this formulation though, because if you try the Korean and you feel this, it is gonna be a little bit different. I will see how it wears though too. Next check-in, I'm gonna do half American based, half Korean based, and just do a full comparison with that. Here is the moment of truth. Here I have the Korean formula that I've been using. I'm gonna show you first of all some differences between the two. Here's the Korean formula. Here is the American formula. Bottom section right here is in English. So that is the biggest indicator. And also if you're just looking at it like from a distance, you can see that this has a blue sunscreen. Well, this doesn't have that highlighted. So those are the big differences. I am going to do a spot test first of the two formulations. Off of first initial use, I mean, there wasn't a terrible difference between the two. I definitely see a difference now. So the American formulation is on the bottom. Something unique about it, the Korean formulation is way more fluid. It is like very lightweight. I can definitely tell a difference. With the American formulation, it is way thicker, which I mean, I got way too much out. I mean, like definitely take that into consideration. But when it comes to blending, I don't struggle with a white cast. So I'm not gonna have that style of issue with this product, but definitely follow creators that look like you to get an accurate depiction of it. I'm gonna wipe my hand off. On the right side of my face, I'm gonna go in with the Korean formulation. And I do have a little bit of facial hair, so we will be able to test this out. Now the Korean formulation, relatively compared to like other Korean sunscreens, I did see people talking about the white cast with this product. It does leave a little bit more of a white cast. I mean, it's so much more fluid-like. Like there is no doubt with the American formulation. It is definitely heavier. And collecting a little bit more in facial hair. I'm probably gonna look back at this and think how awful I did at blending this in. But with a little bit more work, it is manageable. Like you can see on me, once you blend it in, it is not that big of a difference, honestly. Moisturizing wise, they look about the same. Finish wise, they feel pretty similar. The only thing is, this one feels a little bit more lightweight. Like there's just something about this side that feels heavier on the skin. And that's just the American formulations. That's just what you have to work with. With the Korean sides, much more seamless, much more lightweight, blends in better with facial hair and also blends in better overall. This one though, it just takes a little bit more work. I just worry a little bit with deeper skin that it's not gonna be as tolerable. That's why I really highly encourage that you follow creators who look like you, who have tried out the American formulation. I've been using the American formulation. It hasn't been causing any acne, hasn't been causing any stinging around my eyes. I do notice wear-wise that the Korean side kind of stays neutral while the American side gets a little bit more greasy over time. I mean, just naturally as the day goes on. I'm gonna go a couple of days wearing the Korean formula, make sure I'm up to date on that, and also wearing the American formula, just kind of comparing them day by day, seeing how they perform. You can see there now it's kind of dried down. They look practically the same. This one just takes a little bit more work to get it to this level. I'm about to give you all my final thoughts so I can tell a difference. When you're utilizing more advanced Korean technology in skincare, very obvious that the American formulation is heavier. It leaves a little bit dewier of a finish, and that's saying something because Round Lab's original formulation was more on the dewy side. It just feels more heavy the longer term that I used it and the more it sat on my skin. It is delivering a great level of protection though. What I've concluded is that if for some reason I am unable to access Korean formulations, or no matter what happens with Korean sunscreens, the American version of the Round Lab sunscreen was something that I feel like I would turn to. But until that day happens, and as long as I can, I'm going to still use the Korean formulation. I ultimately feel like unless you are just sensitive to Korean formulations, that I would recommend the original Round Lab Korean sunscreen because there's just no comparison. It is so much more lightweight, but when thinking about it, that is the biggest difference that I'm seeing between the American and the Korean formulations. Because the good thing about the American formulation is it also didn't cause breakouts, didn't cause acne. Sometimes I've been sensitive to chemical formulas, and so that's why I wasn't sure if I would be able to use it or if the results would live up as the Korean version did. But additionally, it didn't cause any stinging around my eyes. That is something that I haven't been as prone to experiencing. It's been hit or miss with me with American formulation. So if you know you are very sensitive to American chemical filters, then that may still be a worry with you. My issue is I don't feel like you're getting as much of a sun protection as you are with the Korean formulation. I mean, that's naturally gonna happen, but the thing is, the heavier the finish on the American formulation, I found that I didn't enjoy reapplying with it as much as I did the Korean formulation. I mean, ultimately, there's not really gonna be an American formulation that substitutes the Korean sunscreens. And I hope that with people continuing to talk and raise awareness about sunscreen filters and how outdated they are in the United States, hopefully at some point there can be some progress made with that. With how Korea regulates sunscreens as a cosmetic rather than a drug, makes it easier to advance technology and improve the technology of sunscreens way faster than we can here in the United States. The filters that Round Lab had to work with this American approved formula are difficult to work with and difficult to make a lightweight formula. I have to say, comparing it to some other American chemical-based sunscreens, it is a little bit heavier. We have different options with water-resistant sunscreens, with almost instantly absorbing sunscreens. There are so many American chemical-based sunscreens on the market. When I would recommend turning to the Round Lab is if you're personally like me, acne prone, and you've tried the Round Lab collection and it's worked great for your acne prone skin, personally it lived up to all of the benefits that I saw with my skin, meaning it seemed to help keep acne away and also was friendly for my acne prone skin. That's not a guaranteed experience, but I do feel more confident in saying if you're able to use the Korean formulation, I feel like Round Lab did carry that over with this new American formulation. I also can't testify for a white cast with it. I didn't personally struggle with it, and it wasn't terrible in facial hair. Was definitely something I had to blend in more and work better into my skin. The thing is, it's not terrible, and it is something that I would turn to if I ever was not able to access Korean formulations. And so I do feel like it is a solid option just if you're not able to access Korean formulations. I am glad I have this American backup because it is a good solid formula. It holds up a lot of what the Korean formulation does, and it is a way to more easily access the Round Lab sunscreen. I think Ulta is selling this sunscreen, so if you want to go pick it up in store, you do have that capability. I still think ordering and using the Korean formulation is what I'm personally going to go with, at least until I can't anymore. I hope this video gave you insight into also indicating whether you have an American formulation or a Korean formulation, because it's kind of difficult to tell between the two unless you know the Korean formulation. I remember when Round Lab was first getting on some retailers with this American formulation, I was like, what is the deal? Like, before I looked at the ingredient list, I was like, what's the difference between the two? And then I checked the ingredients, saw American chemical-based filters, and I was like, hang on, that is not my Round Lab sunscreen. You know, you can fall for that if you're wanting the Korean formulation, but you're ordering the American. So I wanted to make this video not only to compare the two, but also give you insight into which one is the American formulation, which one is the Korean formulation, because they do perform differently. This will be an option that I will keep in mind when falling back on sunscreens. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe because I post new videos every week. I will see you all in the next review.